We're to imagine that we've discovered this new tribe of people, and they speak a language that, of course, nobody else speaks. And we're very curious and we're very interested, and we want to try to understand what their language is and how it works and how to relate it to our own language, in this case, English. And so we send over a couple of field linguists, only a couple because funding is very low, and we end up there. And what happens is that the field linguists integrate themselves into the community of this new society, and they try to learn what their words mean. I think here it might be useful just to note that Quine was quite an empiricist, and so for him, the only kind of adequate data, or the relevant sort of data, would be empirical data. And in this case, it's going to be observing what exactly the natives say and do. So these field linguists are out there, and let's follow one of them. They're supposedly on a hunt somewhere, and they come across what the field linguist recognizes as a rabbit. And the native shouts out, "Gavagai." And they go through the hunt, and this happens a couple of times. And the field linguist starts to believe that actually the word Gavagai might mean here's a rabbit, or it's a rabbit, or there's a rabbit, or something like that. And so when he's jotting down his notes, he puts down Gavagai and he puts down it's a rabbit. Now, what Quine suggests to us is that while we may be warranted in saying that the sentence means something like it's a rabbit, or there's a rabbit, or something like that, we have no right or no warrant anyway to say that the term refers to the object rabbit, to say that Gavagai denotes a physical rabbit as we understand it. Why is this so? I think it's important to note that Quine believes in something called stimulus meaning. So the stimulus meaning of a given sentence is whatever stimulus you receive that elicits you to say that sentence. So I've got my cell phone. If I say cell phone, you'll say yes. And so for Quine in this thought experiment, the rabbit, or as we would see it, the rabbit is the stimulus, eliciting the term Gavagai from the natives. But what he notes is that as we look at the stimulus, there's not going to be a difference to be made between defining the term as relating to rabbits, or temporal stages of rabbits, or undetached rabbit parts. Because the stimulus that would get you to say yes to any of those things is one and the same thing that we recognize as a rabbit. The other field linguist also had an interesting day, and he would have noticed the same thing on his hunt. Now, in principle, Quine tells us, it could be that these guys create their different translation manuals, which are adequate to whatever information they've given, and yet are not the same. Well, the one linguist, let's say, translates Gavagai as rabbit, and the other linguist translates it as undetached rabbit part. And there's no way of distinguishing these based on our available data. And what Quine says radically is that there is no fact of the matter regarding which translation is correct. So that's the act of radical translation, which leads us to what he calls the indeterminacy of translation. I thought that's a bit of a fanciful example, and so I wanted to maybe make it a little bit more humorous and controversial, and suggest what might happen if you have an ordinary intelligent bloke driving on the radio, or driving in the car rather, listening to his radio, and suddenly he hears a new and alien term, toxic masculinity. And he's very curious. He wants to know what is toxic masculinity. So he meets up with a group of well-known and well-learned people and provides various examples. Is opening the door for women toxic masculinity, is beating them up toxic masculinity, and on. And so he formulates some kind of definition for himself anyway. Now, it is possible for two people, at least it's imaginable, for two people to hear this term and now come to, importantly, different understandings of what toxic masculinity is. The parallel here would be that not only would there not be a way of distinguishing who was right or who was wrong, but that neither of them are right or wrong. They are both adequate translations of the term, even when they disagree. And that is radical translation. No doubt toxic masculinity is a bit more amorphous than rabbits, but I hope the point is a little bit more vivid put that way.